Welcome to Translation Confidential. This is Peter Argondizzo and Patrick Daley, and this is episode 139, Customer Service in the Age of AI, or maybe lack of customer service in the age of AI. Patrick, what do you think? It's one of those two, right?
Yeah, I think most people, if you've ever tried to call into a customer service line anytime recently, will be met with some prompts and to press some buttons, maybe a lot of buttons before you can actually talk to a human for something that's probably going to give you a headache when you try and follow all the AI prompts. So we're gonna unpack that one a little bit today.
Absolutely. Well, let's set the stage. So, picture this. You have an issue with a purchase, and you reach out, and the first response is silence. You wait, and you wait, and finally an answer pops up. We're all used to these little chat bots, but it's tone deaf. It's telling you something that doesn't even apply to what you asked. And that's where many of us feel, this emotional disconnect from AI-driven support. So
That's I have a very recent one. My mom mentioned yesterday that she was texting Wayfair, the furniture company, about something being delivered to their neighbor's address, and they're like, "Hey, next time can you deliver it to my house and not the neighbor's?" And like tell the delivery person to use their eyes and look at the numbers on the door. And they're like, "Oh my gosh," it was AI, of course. Like, I would be so frustrated too. It's like, okay, that's not what's going to solve my problem right now. Like your fake empathy is not working right now. I was
just going to say AI doing empathy. Oh, we're going to spend some time on that today. Hell yeah. So we're going to dig into this. Like why customer in the age of AI needs a human heart. I mean, that's exactly it. And
a human brain.
And a human brain. And, yes, we still need to be the overlords of the AI. It's not the reverse. And we're going to use an example from a company. It's a fintech giant, Klarna. You've all seen Klarna. They're the little guys in the corner when you want to buy something for $50 and you want to make it 10 $5 payments. That's Klarna. And they learned this lesson the hard way, oversimplistic, like, oh gosh, this AI stuff is cool. Let's just replace all humans. So we'll talk about that a little bit today, and why that's such a stupid thing to say out loud in your adult voice. So, all right. So in the age of AI, right, we often praise technology for its efficiency, but what if we've forgotten what truly matters in customer service? Patrick just gave us a great example. So our thesis is that yes, AI can enhance service, but if you over-rely on it, it strips away empathy. And yes, fake empathy doesn't count. People can see right through it. Your mom saw right through it, Patrick.
Well, I mean, yeah, like you see it anytime you even websites outside. I know we mentioned the phone path earlier, but it's the same thing on websites with supports when you see the little "How can I help you" bubble pop up in the bottom corner. And some of them you can't even type in a free response. It's, just click these buttons to get pathed by the AI to get just shoved into a black hole of nothing when you keep pressing the buttons and try and actually talk to someone who might be able to solve your problem. So it's an interesting dilemma because that saves the company trying to do customer service probably a lot of money and time, but it also creates a lot of frustration on the user side of like, hey, I just have this simple problem and I now have to waste a half hour of my time to go get this solved when it could take a person 10 seconds to fix this for me.
Yeah, I mean, that's really it. I mean, and that's what we're going to talk through is, what are the risks when a company does that? Because there are real consequences, and Klarna's certainly a cautionary tale. I mean, I've seen some good examples too. I mean, like I think HubSpot doesn't do a terrible job. Because like if you ask something like, oh, I need to reset my ID, well, they have a good article and tells you how to do it. And that's fine. I appreciate that. It's like, that's quick. That way I don't have to wait. I don't have to explain myself, authenticate who I am, why I'm calling, all these sort of things. But like what I really love to see is that really quick off-ramp. Like, yeah, a help article is not going to help you here. Hold on, I'm going to connect you to Samantha. Okay, great. Then Samantha comes on and helps me. And I actually don't mind that. I don't know, Patrick, have you had like good examples of it?
Yes and no. I was working with a credit card company. I hadn't used my certain credit card for a while, so they shut me down because I wasn't making them any money. So I was like, hey, can I reactivate that? Like, I like having that card, even though I haven't used it. And so they gave me a number to call in the letter that says, hey, we're cutting off your card. and I pressed it, and it's like, would you like to check your balance? Would you like to know all this useless stuff? I was like, no, I would like to reopen my account. And it's like, would you like to check your balance? Would you like to do all this useless stuff?
It's terrible.
And so through Reddit of all places, I found they're like, just mash 0 when you get into that doom loop. They're like, just keep pressing 0 and they'll get you to a person. So like I called the number back, and through all the crap they tried to feed me, I just pressed 0 every single time and got to a person relatively quickly.
See, and that's dumb. You shouldn't have to read a Reddit article to learn the trick
to get in touch with someone.
I mean, I always appreciate when the last option is, and if none of these options apply, please say agent to be connected to an agent. It's like, okay, give the off ramp. I get it. A lot of people are going to take the off ramp, and you can certainly do some things to tweak it. But, I mean, really, I think one of the things that I want to stress too, Patrick, before we get too far down the road is, like, I've seen too much of like both camps. It's almost like our political environment, right? It's so divisive. You either like AI or you hate it. And I feel like that's kind of what you're seeing online. And I want to make sure everybody knows this podcast isn't going to be this, because we're going to use Klarna as the framework, but it's not going to be the episode that says, aha, we caught AI being stupid, it's terrible and no one should use it. And in my mind, that just isn't the case. To me, and I think you have an analogy on this, it's just a case of humans using the wrong tool in the wrong spot, right? It's just humans being stupid and using AI in a spot where you shouldn't use AI.
Right. Like, I know we've used the transportation analogy a few times talking about like different service levels, but if I need to go to the end of the block or one town over, I'll take my bike or a car. I won't take a freaking airplane. That's not the right mode of transportation for the job that I need to do. So another good analogy I saw recently, it's comparing AI deployment to when carpenters were first introduced to power tools. The carpenter's still taking all the measurements, writing everything down, drawing the lines on the things they need to cut or what have you. But then power tools make their job so much easier because instead of laboring away with a handsaw for a half hour to do something, they just go power saw right through it and done. They get to the same result, but it just takes them a lot less time. But they, as the experts, still know, okay, I have to draw this line perfectly straight and use the right tool for the job. So that was a really good analogy for me. And it was someone who deployed like a really complex thing of code. They said it would take them normally 3 weeks to do that, and they said they did it in 2 days with AI. I'm like, that's awesome, and it worked. But he's like, but I learned that I still had to do these 10 things to make sure that process worked. I couldn't outsource the entire thing to AI.
Yeah, and I think that's a great example, right? When you have these tasks that, where AI can help, or maybe it gets you to, I'm a big believer in the FSD, or the first, the S word draft, the first not so great draft, right? I'm a big believer that in almost anything we do, especially creative, that if you can get to kind of that first draft more quickly, you can really refine and hone and get a really good quality piece of output. And I think that's where like the uninitiated in AI don't realize that you still have to know what you're doing to use AI effectively. If you don't know what you're doing, it looks like you're using AI, right?
Well, I mean, think of it. We use it to come up with topics and outlines for the show that we've done for now 139 episodes, but we don't just take the outline and chuck it into AI voices of ourselves and say, go read this. Like, we refine the topics. We say, actually, no, this point is wrong. Let's actually take it this way. So like, we use AI frequently in the show to help us kind of brainstorm and come up with those ideas and those jumping off points, but we're still the ones saying like, not so much on this point, but yes, like really lean into that point.
Right.
And we're like crafting and molding rather than just spewing out like, here's our outline, show's over.
And one of the things that I would argue is that sometimes using AI, when you use AI properly, and I've heard our CTO talk about this in terms of development as well, is that it's not necessarily that you finish faster, but you finish better, right? In other words, that you get to paths where you don't want to be so much faster, that then you can focus on where you want to go. And again, it's getting to that FSD, that first draft, right? Getting to it more quickly And if you use it effectively, it's like you really have to write good prompts. Otherwise, it's garbage in, garbage out, just like anything. But like, I get the intentions, right? Working back to customer service. So the heart of the folks that are embarking on these journeys is in the right place, right? It's like, hey, we'd like to provide better customer service. So maybe we can use chat bots. And, I've got my customer service team of 10. And if I do this correctly, it'll look like we have a customer service team of 20 because we can respond so much more quickly. So I don't have to actually add the other 10. I can use AI and chatbots to help. So like their intent is in the right place. Chatbots, automated support lines, like that, the infinite loop of doom that you were just in. Well, they're trying to get you to the right spots, but without that quick exit ramp, you call it a loop of doom and you makes you mad, right?
If I needed to know my balance, it would have been great, but that's not what I was looking for. So like you said, I think having that ramp off, it really just like you kind of get the best of both worlds, right? Like you can have this awesome AI pathing and all that kind of stuff living, and it works for 80% of your stuff, but that other 20% where they need a person or it's a complex issue or whatever situation they're running into, like that will still save them time by funneling 80% of their problems to AI, but you still have to have someone to handle the rest of it.
Yeah, you're just making people mad in the interim. And I mean, I get it, right? The lure, the siren of this, the siren's call is cost savings, better availability, better scalability. So like in the translation world, how does this tie back in? So, some examples that I could think of, and admittedly, we do have a client portal, but guess what? When you submit a job, you get a response from a human. But it's like the overuse of client portals and MT engines and automated quoting, which, we've been fighting. We're not doing automated quoting for a reason, because projects are complex. At least the ones we work on are complex. I get it. Maybe if you only do Word documents or something with nothing else in it, I suppose. And AI based even quality estimation, right? People using AI to check quality. It's all the same siren song, right? Faster turnaround, lower cost, more scalability. I can handle more requests. But I think where people fall down is, and you felt this, I think, Patrick, when you called, if you feel processed instead of supported, right, you missed the mark. If you feel like, oh, I'm just, transaction number 1736432. That's who I am. I'm not Patrick Daley over here trying to activate my damn card. Instead, you were 176342, right?
I kept it closed just to stick it to him.
Good for you.
But I mean, fine, I'll open a card with someone else then.
I was just going to say, and that's the risk you run, right? Is that the business that stuck with you because it's like, I always felt like I had good support there. I always felt like whatever I needed, I got a phone call. If instead that interaction now becomes, you can't get to an agent, oh, that means they don't want to talk to me. What I'm feeling is they don't want my business any longer. So, that's the example, right? A client uploads a project to a portal and they just get automated updates. There's no reassurance, no human follow-up. Hey, I got this, Patrick. I'm working on it for you. So, those are the risks. So you have to weigh those, right?
I will say there's nothing worse too than getting an automated email that doesn't have the right variables plugged in, or they have a typo in their variables. So it's like, hello, name in parentheses with percentage mark those next to it. It's like, ooh, you guys really screwed this one up.
Those are my favorite. I really like when it's just my last name and it's like, hello, Argondizzo. And then, but they have like some other personalization bits in there. And I'm like, my favorite are the ones that scrape our H1 tag on our website. Where, hey, I've noticed you're doing a phenomenal job at providing tailored solutions to clients for translation services. I'm like, that's our H1 tag. Okay.
Don't give away all the secrets right now.
Thank you for that. It's like, okay, very impersonal and misaligned responses, right? And in your case, ignoring nuanced cases, right? It's like your case had some nuance to it. It's like, well, I've been a customer. You shut my account down. And you would think they would learn. And then number 6 becomes, do you need to reactivate your account, right? It's like, gets you on the path. It's like, I guess I wouldn't mind if there's 12 options. It's like, all right, I'll listen to them, or maybe you have a tree and then it leads into other ones. I don't know, but it seems like a good idea. But let's talk about Klarna. I mean, let's talk about the bad, Patrick.
Yeah, I think, what was it, 2 or 3 years ago at this point, they announced that They're going to have AI replace their entire customer support staff of about 700 people. And now we're 2 to 3 years into that experiment, and we've seen them kind of crawl that back a bit. I think they pretty quickly, almost immediately, started hiring back some of that team just to kind of put out some of the fires that were created by just going from 0 to 100 very quickly. Yeah, it's a very interesting kind of case study of like embracing AI without any human intervention or human in the loop, if you want to call it that, of just, again, like 0 to 100 and then just expecting it to be business as usual when that's certainly not going to be the case.
It's so short-sighted. I mean, and that's a very successful company too, right? I mean, I can almost even see like a company who's like, oh, we have so much adversity going on right now. You know, we're under these different pressures. So we need to figure out some ways to optimize. It's weird to me that one would do this in the face of success. Like in the face of success, I'm just gonna
why
piss
not?
it all away.
Why not pilot? Let's say, okay, instead of 100% of this, we're going to direct 10% of people to this just to see like proof of concept, to see if this actually freaking works, rather than just go like, nope, everyone's done, bye.
It's almost like,
and maybe they did pilot it, but
maybe we don't know.
We don't know because we don't work there, but
obviously
it seems
it wasn't a strong enough test if they did.
Right, but I mean, or start at 10% and then ratchet it up to 20 and see what changes, ratchet it up to 30, like just kind of more stair step it than just jump into the deep end and see what happens.
Well, and I mean, I guess we've all been there, in business. Sometimes you launch an experiment or a POC and you hear what you want to hear. Like, I think we've all been victim to that. But this one's so massive. I think like if I were in charge of this thing, and of course, again, hindsight's 2020, I realize that. I think I would look for the no and not for the yes, right? I mean, I'd like look for this thing to fail because it's such a big endeavor and it literally is your bread and butter. So, I mean, right?
But I mean, there's something too, though. If you get some insanely strong like pathing of things through AI, and then it gets you to the human, like maybe you've saved 30% of the workload off of humans at that point. I think this is something we've talked about over and over again, is like, again, AI, at least widely, does not seem to be like this big solution for everything that fixes all your problems. You have to find a very specific thing and train the living hell out of the engine to make sure it does that thing perfectly and every single time. Otherwise, everyone's seen hallucinations and just making stuff up. So like you kind of have to beat the hell out of it in testing to make sure that it works.
100%, right? I mean, and we're going to go back to empathy, but it matters, right? I mean, the AI itself, and I guess that's where that pilot would have to focus, right? Is, maybe you're surveying the clients afterwards. How did that feel? But you're right. Like the AI itself lacks emotional intelligence. It doesn't interpret frustration. That phone tree sure did. I mean, you were banging on those keys. If it could, if there was somehow that it could tell the pressure of which you were hitting the keys, it would have been great. They would have fast tracked you to a human, right?
Exactly.
But no one even knows on the other end that someone's mad, right? There's no nuance, and I think it's really about brand reputation, right? It's like one botched interaction damages loyalty. Human agents can salvage that. They're like, hey, I'm sorry this happened to you. We'll give you 5% off your next transaction. We'll waive the fees on this one. I don't know, fill in the blank. I'm just here to listen. Even just listening and saying, yeah, that's terrible. I'm going to put a ticket in and we're going to figure out why that happened to you. That's not great.
Right. And I mean, we've seen it from everything from Uber ratings to Google reviews of like, something's under a 4 on Google, which is still 4 out of 5. Like, it's pretty solid. People are like, nah, these negative reviews speak louder than the positive reviews. And that's psychology of people. They put more stock in the negative than the positive. So again, you might be knocking it out of the park 80% of the time with your 4 out of 5, but if you see that on Google, you might see a 3.9. You might be like, I don't really want to go to that place. I'd rather go to the 4.4 out of 5.
Absolutely. I mean, we've talked about this when it comes to the actual translation action, right? Is that The problem with this is, and this is true of a human translation as well, is that people are going to judge you on the lowest denominator. So if you have a 30-page translation and it's awesome, except for one sentence, which is so ridiculous, it's so missed the point, say this is a terrible translation. And unfortunately, AI certainly has a propensity to do that, is that when it misses the boat, it swings hard. It swings for the fences hard when it misses the boat, right? So I would say the same with customer interaction. It's like all the transactions that, follow this tightly knit use case all go swimmingly. But when people have problems, they want help, they want resolution. I mean, it's in any customer service interaction, right?
No, but I mean, that takes me back to some client reviews where they're like, that's basically all the feedback we get is, hey, we don't like it. And it's like, okay, let's unpack that a little bit, is my first response, not just like, I think you have to really get into the details and be like, okay, what didn't you like? What didn't your subject matter expert like when they reviewed? Can you give us specifics on this, or terminology that might have missed the mark, or whatever it might be? But I think just saying like, this isn't good, I think that requires a little bit of training on the client side of like what actionable feedback is to give to your provider, because no translation provider will ever be perfect all the time. Like, you're going to find mistakes, it's going to happen. But I think where you can really evaluate a provider is if and when you might find a mistake, what happens after that? How are you treated after that? I think that's really telling about how providers do business.
Absolutely. And this is kind of a crazy theory, but I stand by it. I still think that a large percentage of client reviews go off track before they even read the translation. And the reason is because of motivation. Because oftentimes, when we're engaging in a translation that then is going to a subject matter expert, perhaps the subject matter expert used to handle the translations, or they used to job the translations, and that decision's been taken out of their hands. And our preferred way, again, human connection, is to just at least exchange an email and say, hey, we're Argo Translation. I'm Peter Argondizzo. I'll be managing your project. Just wanted to let you know that our translators, who, by the way, are in your country, are looking after your project right now. We do have some terminology, but we'd appreciate any feedback you give us, because any feedback you give us, we're going to work in to the translation memory, and we'll make sure we don't make those mistakes in the future. And just that like little thing sort of disarm. Oh, all right, that's cool. Good to know. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think
it's just that little human connection is like, oh, they're trying to help me, so they're going to leave me to just be the subject matter expert. But when you don't have any of that context, you don't have the human connection.
Right. I think any sort of like kickoff, or like you said, kind of level setting at the start can really go miles towards the end of a project. That's no matter what type of project you're working on, just so you make sure everyone's aligned at the front end of the project. It will save you 10 times the amount of headaches by the end of the project.
Absolutely. So, all right, Patrick, we've been solving problems kind of along the way, but I guess we should talk about some takeaways for some translation companies that are looking to integrate some AI, right? And I can get us started, and it dovetails into what you were saying about a proof of concept. And I think a hybrid model, right? I mean, no one's going to go, I don't need translators or project managers. I saw a funny post someone posted today. It's like, I have now created, 5 MCPs, this AI workflow, and it replaces this and this and this. And I no longer need any translators, any project managers, any reviewers,
or any business.
Exactly. It was this long. I'm like, this was pretty gutsy, like this long post, right? And it was hilarious because, again, I think no one's foolish enough to go, I don't need anybody. It's just all going to be run by AI. It's ridiculous, right? So use AI for the power that it has. Use it for routine tasks, and humans for the ones that are emotional or complex or require nuance, or, the human in the loop to make sure that things are going the right way, right? So a hybrid model, I mean, it would be ridiculous to look for the things where the risks are low and the wins are high, like, maybe combing through 100,000 words and saying, hey, can you create a glossary? Well, all right, great. The human will review it, but that's a great idea. So
well, yeah, I mean,
my suggestion.
you can deploy the AI to say, give me the most frequently used terms in this 100,000 words. That would take a person a while to read through all of that and write down and tick mark and all that kind of stuff. Where if you can just pop it through an engine and say, give me the top 50 words, don't give me ands, us, or those, like take out all the words that we might not actually care about. It'll be pretty solid. And then you can take that list and say, hey, here's the top 50. Which ones do you want us to translate, or which ones do you, client, not care about? And you can whittle it down even more. But I think, like we've talked about, it's using AI in the right place. Again, we can go back to my credit card example. If I wanted to know my balance, it would have been great. I could have pressed 2 buttons and been done. But that's not what I was going there for. So like understanding, like we said, understanding why those AI solutions exist, and then if someone goes into that path and shouldn't be, to give them an exit so that they can get back to the place where they need to be.
Yeah, I love that. Why don't you grab the next one, Patrick?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it a little bit, but it's like testing before scaling. We kind of talked about that with Klarna, of like where this can actually be successful. And then I think we talked about too in a bit of the hybrid model of not using tech to eliminate human work, but use it to augment the human work and just free up the humans to focus on either high value or strategic work or whatever it might be. Like I frequently say I use AI to do things that I don't want to do or I'm not motivated to do. So it's kind of just to take that burden off me of something I don't, maybe I can't get started. I'm like, hey, do this thing for me. And I'll take the first draft and just really run with it and make it my own and craft it rather than just copy paste whatever shoots out.
Absolutely. And, you know, all too often, I think people look at kind of the result like, oh, I just translated 1 million words in an hour. Well, okay, that's ridiculous. Instead, what I'm going to ask is, were you satisfied with the end product, right? If I have the luxury of speaking to the client afterwards and say, hey, did you meet your release date? Were you able to ship the manual or the help file or whatever it is that, we're working on, or did the website launch and did it get good feedback, right? If you're going to just measure yourself off of word count or turnaround time,
then AI is great.
Yeah, AI is awesome. If you're just checking boxes, so good. I'm done immediately. I mean, it's ridiculous, right? So we get paid on, I always say we don't get paid on, yes, we use word count to measure some things, but the real reason people exchange translation for paychecks for us is because they met a goal, right? They met a goal to provide a manual, sell a product, create interaction on a website. That's the reason. Nobody pays us for words on a page. Doesn't happen.
Right. And I think that can also be measured in how long you keep clients around, right? Like if they bail after their first job, it's like, okay, we probably missed the mark on that one. But if they've been around for years and years and years, then obviously you're doing something right in that workflow.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've talked about it this whole episode, but human oversight in every loop, right? It's the human overlords, right? There should be human oversight. And what you can do is you can use systems and technology and software to route something so it's a beautiful workflow. But, if there's MT output, QA, client communication, I mean, that should all have a human in the loop to make sure that you're hitting the mark on all those points.
Yep.
You hit the scaling one already, Patrick. This one I like. Use tech to free up humans. Let them do the relationship work and not eliminate them, right? I mean, that's been our mantra from 1995, right? Is that nobody enjoys writing purchase orders. Well, I was just at lunch the other day, Patrick. We were just talking here about our old access system from 1996. And, the whole reason that Jackie and I are like, yeah, we got to do something. And we're whining to our IT guys at the time. And, I remember the founder, Jeremy Cherney's like, hey, Mike Lindo on our team knows access like crazy. He could probably design a database for it. I'm like, what's access and when do we start?
Sign me up yesterday.
Exactly. And he did. He created this beautiful, and certainly by today's standards, it's ridiculous, right? But by 1996 standards, this thing was amazing. We'd put our project in there. We choose our languages. We choose our vendors, which it had, tables with their rates in it. And we would just say issue POs and it would email all the POs. We were like, I mean, amazing, right? So use tech to free up humans. It was true in 1996. It's true in 2025.
I mean, but that same basic functionality exists now, right? Like I still remember sending translation jobs. It's like I just shipped, if it's a 20 language project with formatting and review, I've got 80 people working on that, and the snap of a finger, all 80 POs go out, and I don't have to worry about it because I know and I can trust that that data is right because that process is run hundreds and thousands of times.
Absolutely. And I think last year we generated, I think it was in the neighborhood of 60,000 purchase orders. And the cool thing is nobody typed.
How much people time do you think that took?
Almost nothing. And now we've actually even automated the backside of it. We have a vendor portal. So our vendors log in, they just look and they see their open projects. And I finished that one. I finished that one. I finished that one. And they just hit bill. It automatically goes to the project manager to say, yep, the work's been done. The minute they approve it, it's an invoice in our system, and the vendor can see it's been approved and see what date they're going to get paid. So in terms
it
of
triggers their net payment terms after that too. So, but
Absolutely.
I think a good point you make though is there's that human step in there to be like, is this project done? Because someone could do it on accident and be like, oh, shoot, I clicked too many buttons, and like this project's actually not done. So you can kick that one back to them and say, not that one, but these 4 are fine.
That's exactly how it happens. And the work that we've saved for our accounting manager and for the vendors, right? For our translators, it's like it's easy. They don't have to type anything. They don't have to.
I mean,
what did they say? What's the purchase order number? It's all there. It's all in the system.
Right. Like I know a lot of translators back when I was at Argo would send individual invoices for POs with their branding on it, and hopefully they had some sort of automation going on their side. But now that kind of takes the burden off of them. And I know we've talked about in the past of like most translators don't go into business to run a business. They go in because they like being a translator. So that kind of takes one more burden off of them to run their business, where a lot of this automation can help them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we help them stay on track because you're right. It's not usually their forte or what they want to do. It's they want to work in the translation. That's what they want to do, or in the interpretation. That's sort of what they're shooting for. So I guess really what we've been trying to reinforce this whole episode, right, is that AI isn't the enemy, right? It's super easy to just go, blah, this is terrible, it sucks, But neglecting the human side of any service can certainly backfire, and Klarna discovered that really quickly. So, I mean, Patrick, what do you think? Did we cover it?
Yeah, I think interestingly enough, I feel like if you look on LinkedIn for, I'm going to say finger quote, thought leaders in the space, like you'll only see both extremes of like AI for everything or no AI. And I think the reality is somewhere in the middle, obviously, like we've talked about. So that's, I just think, a symptom of social media and trying to get recognized on the internet is like that example you said. It's like, I just eliminated the need for PMs and translators and blah, blah, blah. It's like, did you though?
Exactly. It was I'm surprised it wasn't like they didn't do that on April 1st. Maybe we weren't at that same point, because it's a good like April Fool's Day prank. And a lot of people are like, wait, what? He's like, you didn't read the last sentence, so it was pretty funny. So anyway, great post by Diego Crescere. So at any rate, Patrick, this is the point we talk about. What's your biggest takeaway from today's episode?
Yeah, I think where a lot of people fall short anywhere in AI adoption is like really trying to measure against some sort of ROI metric, and really like chasing buzz instead of like actual actionable solutions that can help you do something. I think being able to measure that impact, like you said, of like we sent 60,000 people and that took, I don't know, 8 minutes of human time this year, as opposed to, let's say each one used to take 10 minutes. That's an insane amount of cost and time savings right off the bat. So like tying your implementation of any AI or automation to like, okay, we need to be able to measure what this does and not just say, you can have translation in a second. Like that doesn't really mean anything, as opposed to, oh, we saved client review time by 50 hours this year or whatever it might be. But having some sort of metric that you can measure and really say, okay, this is why the solution works and helps either us make money, save time, whatever you're measuring against. But really think like through the whole process, like, okay, we do this thing. How do we know if it's successful?
Yeah, I mean, exactly, Patrick. I love that. I'm going to dovetail off of that and say that, for me, the human connection piece is the biggest. And when you're measuring success, bring it back to that human experience and the action we did, the translation, the interpretation, whatever it is how did that help the client and tie it to their success? So again, not just we translated 1,000,000 words and not whatever. That's ridiculous and doesn't matter to anyone. It's they're translating this content to accomplish some business goal, and was it accomplished? I mean, that's really the true measure of success. And if you can use AI at the margins, I guess my 1.1 takeaway on that is that something that we've talked about so much with almost any technological innovation over the years is, can you do it in small bite-sized pieces, right? Can you take a little piece here, there, a little piece there? We talked about piloting, we talked about all sorts of different ways to do that, but doing wholesale changes in your production model is ridiculous and a bad idea. So that was kind of my biggest takeaway, right, from our use case and everything. So, well, wonderful. For this episode of Translation Confidential, this is Peter Argondizzo and Patrick Daley signing off.